Alright, so in this video I'm going to go over how to fix some color contrast issues. So right now the colors that I have aren't the most accessible, and that is because the color contrast ratios are low for some elements. So in order to see our issues, we could use the accessibility inspector, which comes with Xcode. So if you go to Xcode, open developer tool and accessibility inspector, it'll bring up this tool which will help with a bunch of accessibility things. So for this video I'm just going to focus on the color contrast. So since I'm running in simulator, I select that, but if you're using a phone or whatever, you could select that instead. For now I'm going to do simulator, and there's different things you could do with this tool, and for right now I'm going to focus on auditing. So you could run an audit which will check all your accessibility elements and see if there's any issues, and right here we could see there's a bunch of contrast problems. If you click on each one, it'll show the element that is having the issue, which is pretty handy. So it looks like the orange on yellow and the text field colors is where our contrast is failing. And in order to find some values that'll work, we could use the contrast calculator. So if you have an issue with contrast, you could hit the question mark and then this button, show contrast calculator. And if you just want to play around with the calculator without running an audit, you could go to window when you're in the accessibility inspector. So you go to window and then show color contrast calculator. But for now I'm just going to go here because it'll pre-fill the colors. So it looks like the colors are actually wrong that it gave us, but regardless, what we could do is just use a color picker. So you could use the same color picker that's in Xcode and just select the colors. So for now I'll make the background, our background color, and then the text color will be this action primary color. And you can see the ratio is 2.9 to 1, and Apple says the minimum should be 4.5 to 1, and then higher for the high contrast setting. And this is based off like the WCAG standards, which I'll create more videos in the future that go into more detail about what this all means. But for now I'm just gonna update our theme to have these high contrast colors and show how they adapt when the user does different settings. But this is what I used to find the colors. I just played around with the calculator until I got ratios that were within good reason. But since I'm not a designer, it does not look very good. But let's just finish out this series and show how we would adapt for these contrast issues. So I created a little file with the colors I need to change. It was mostly around the button and the text fields. So the button is using this action primary color, which I actually have to completely change all of the colors because in regular light mode the contrast wasn't even high enough. So I'm going to change the existing colors to now be accessible. And hopefully a designer would find colors that look better than these, but this is what I came up with. And then I'll add the high contrast now as well. So in light mode, high contrast, it is this color. And then dark mode is going to be a brighter orange. Okay, and then for the placeholder we need to change the high contrast colors. So I will add that now. Okay, so that should help make our app a bit more accessible. I don't know if this will fix all the issues, but we'll see. So if we run it now, we should see these new colors being used. Which doesn't look great, but definitely more contrast. So if I run that audit again, hopefully we get less issues. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for contrast, and now we still have problems. So let's see what it's saying. So it's saying it's at a 4.4 instead of a 4.5, which I thought it was at a 4.5, but I guess it's not. And then for the placeholder, I actually didn't attempt to make this be a high contrast for non-high contrast users. And that was just because Apple's text fields don't even adjust for high, or Apple's text fields don't meet the contrast recommendations for placeholders either. It's only when you turn it to high contrast mode that it does change. So I just followed that. So now if we go to dark mode, we should see our colors are brighter. It's a little bit brighter for these oranges, and everything else is pretty much the same. So now if we increase contrast, we could see it really sticks out now in dark mode. And then similarly, if we go to light, it very much sticks out with these colors. The fields themselves, looks like that would probably have to be changed to be a bit darker instead of this yellowish color. But this is just to show how we would do the high contrast colors. I'm not going to focus on making this perfect right now because I'm going to have more videos in the future about accessibility. But that is it for this series on creating our SwiftUI theme that also works with UIKit. Maybe in the future I'll add some more if I need, but I think this has covered everything. So please leave me any feedback you've had if you've gone through this series, just so I can know how to make it better in the future.